Everyone talks about African genetics like it's some cheat code. Like you just wake up one day, walk into a gym, and muscles appear out of thin air. That's not how this works. And if you believe that, you're already losing. Because while you're busy worshiping genetics you may or may not have, someone with inferior DNA is outworking you right now. Today, I'm going to destroy everything you think you know about genetic potential and show you the exact routine that actually unlocks what's inside you. Here's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to discuss. Genetics matter. They matter a lot. But they don't matter the way social media has programmed you to believe. I grew up hearing the same things you probably heard. Black men are naturally more muscular. African genetics are built different. You got that natural athlete DNA. And for years, I let that become my excuse. Not my advantage. My excuse. Because when you believe something is natural, you stop working for it. You assume it will come easy. And when it doesn't come easy, because nothing real ever does, you feel confused. Broken. Like maybe you didn't get the memo everyone else got. Let me tell you something that changed my entire perspective. I was 22 years old. Skinny. Not lean skinny. Weak skinny. I could barely bench press the bar. And every time I looked in a mirror, I saw the opposite of what everyone told me I should be. Where were these genetics everyone kept talking about? Where was this natural muscle? Where was this athletic build that was supposed to be my birthright? It didn't exist. Because genetics are not a gift. They're a blueprint. And a blueprint means nothing if you never pick up the tools to build. Let's get scientific for a moment. Because I'm not here to sell you fantasy. Yes, there are documented differences in muscle fiber composition across different populations. Some studies suggest certain genetic backgrounds may have higher proportions of fast-twitch muscle fibers. This can influence explosive power, sprint speed, jumping ability. But here's what those same studies also reveal, and what nobody on social media mentions. Individual variation within any population is massive. Meaning two people from the exact same genetic background can have completely different physical potentials. One might be a natural sprinter. The other might struggle to run a mile. Same genetics, different outcomes. Why? Because genetics load the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger. Your sleep, your nutrition, your training consistency, your stress management, your recovery protocols. These factors determine whether your genetic potential ever becomes genetic reality. I've trained with guys who had every genetic advantage you could imagine. Broad shoulders, narrow waists, muscle insertions that looked sculpted by artists. And you know what? Most of them plateaued within 2 years because they relied on what was given instead of earning what was possible. Meanwhile, I watched guys who looked average on paper transform into absolute machines. Not because of superior DNA, because of superior discipline. This is the first truth you need to internalize. Genetics don't determine your ceiling. They determine your starting point. Where you go from there is entirely your decision. Now let me show you the trap I fell into, because you're probably in it right now. When I first started training, I copied everyone. I watched what the biggest guys in the gym were doing. I followed routines from fitness influencers. I consumed every piece of content I could find. And I made zero progress. Not slow progress. Zero progress. Because I was training for someone else's body, someone else's genetics, someone else's recovery capacity. Here's what nobody tells you about training programs. They're designed by people who respond well to those exact methods. The guy recommending high-volume training, he probably has the recovery capacity of a machine. The guy pushing heavy low-rep work, he probably has joint structures that can handle extreme loads. But you might be completely different. Your muscle fiber composition might require a different stimulus. Your hormonal profile might need different recovery times. Your nervous system might fatigue faster or slower than average. And if you don't learn to read your body, your unique body, you'll spend years chasing results that will never come. This was my first breakthrough. Stopping the imitation. Starting the investigation. I began treating my training like an experiment. Testing variables. Measuring outcomes, documenting everything, and slowly, piece by piece, I discovered what my body actually responded to. Not what worked for the influencer, not what worked for my training partner, what worked for me. This is where most people fail. They want a shortcut, the universal solution, the one routine to rule them all. It doesn't exist. And the sooner you accept that, the faster you'll actually progress. Now, let's get into what you came here for. My actual routine. The framework that took me from struggling to bench the bar to building a physique I'm genuinely proud of. But understand something first. I'm not giving you this so you can copy it exactly. I'm giving you this so you can understand the principles behind it. Then adapt those principles to your own body. Here's my structure. Training split. Push-pull legs 6 days per week. But not the way most people do it. I train each muscle group twice per week with different intensity zones. Day 1 is strength-focused. Heavy weights. Lower reps. Longer rest periods. 4 to 6 reps on compound movements. The goal is progressive overload. Adding weight or reps every single session. Not dramatically. Micro-loading. 2.5 pounds here. 1 extra rep there. Tiny gains that compound over months into massive results. Day 2 for each muscle group is hypertrophy-focused. Moderate weights. Higher reps, shorter rest periods. 8 to 12 reps with controlled negatives. This is where I focus on mind-muscle connection. Feeling every fiber contract. Slowing down the eccentric phase. Creating metabolic stress. Here's what I discovered about my own genetics through years of experimentation. My chest responds better to incline work than flat pressing. My back grows fastest with heavy rowing, not pull-downs. My legs need extremely high volume to grow, way more than average. My shoulders recover quickly and can handle frequency other muscle groups can't. None of this came from a YouTube video. It came from meticulous tracking over years. Writing down every workout. Taking progress photos monthly. Measuring key areas regularly. Comparing what I did to what actually changed. This is the work nobody wants to do, but it's the only work that actually matters. Let me be brutally honest about nutrition. My training is maybe 30% of my results. Nutrition is everything else. And this is where I see the most people fail, especially people who believe they have good genetics. They think they can eat whatever they want because their body will figure it out. Wrong. Your body will figure out the bare minimum. Your body will adapt to survive. But thriving, optimizing, maximizing, that requires intentional fuel. Here's my approach. Protein, 1 gram per pound of body weight. Non-negotiable. Every single day. This is the foundation. Without adequate protein, your muscles cannot repair. They cannot grow. You could train perfectly and still fail if protein is lacking. Carbohydrates. I cycle based on training intensity. Heavy training days get high carbs. Rest days get lower carbs. This keeps my body sensitive to insulin and prevents unnecessary fat gain during gaining phases. Fats, never below 20% of total calories. Hormonal function depends on dietary fat. Drop it too low and watch your testosterone plummet. Watch your recovery suffer. Watch your mood crash. I learned this the hard way. Try the ultra-low-fat approach. Lost strength. Lost energy. Lost motivation. Never again. Sleep is the hidden multiplier. This is where genetic potential actually expresses itself. During deep sleep, your body releases the majority of its growth hormone. Your muscles repair. Your nervous system recovers. Your hormones rebalance. Skimp on sleep, and you're sabotaging everything else. I aim for 8 hours minimum. Not 7. Not around 8. 8 hours actual sleep, which means I'm in bed for 9 hours. Because nobody falls asleep the second their head hits the pillow. I eliminated screens 1 hour before bed. I keep my room cold, around 65 degrees. I use blackout curtains. I stop caffeine after noon. Small changes. Massive impact. My recovery improved dramatically. My strength increased. My body composition shifted. All from prioritizing something most people sacrifice first. Now let's talk about what actually separates those who transform from those who stay the same. It's not genetics. It's not the perfect program. It's not supplements or secrets. It's mental architecture. How you think determines how you act. How you act determines what you become. And most people have mental frameworks that guarantee failure. Here's what I mean. Most people train when they feel like it. They eat well when motivation is high. They sleep enough when nothing else is competing for their time. This is emotional training. And emotional training produces emotional results. inconsistent, unpredictable, ultimately disappointing. What changed everything for me was developing identity-based discipline. Not trying to get fit. I am someone who trains. Now I should eat better. I am someone who fuels my body properly. Not I need more sleep. I am someone who prioritizes recovery. This sounds like semantics. It's not. When fitness becomes part of your identity rather than something you're attempting, everything shifts. You don't negotiate with yourself anymore. You don't wait for motivation. You don't skip sessions because you're not feeling it. You show up because that's who you are. The same way you brush your teeth without debating it every morning. This mental shift took me longer to develop than any physical attribute. But once it clicked, progress became inevitable. I stopped being someone hoping for results. I became someone who produces results. There's a moment I still remember. 3 years into my training journey. I was exhausted. Work had been brutal. I hadn't slept well. Every part of me wanted to skip the gym. Old me would have negotiated. I'll go tomorrow. One day won't hurt. I deserve a break. But new me? New me didn't even consider it. I walked into that gym like a machine. Not because I wanted to, because that's what I do. That workout wasn't my best. Probably my worst that month. But it represented something more important than any single session ever could. It represented who I had become. Someone who shows up regardless. And that identity, not genetics, is what builds extraordinary physiques over time. Let me share the realization that transformed everything. I was 4 years into training, finally starting to see real results. And someone at the gym approached me. Man, you're lucky. You've got those genetics. I almost laughed. Lucky? For years of showing up when I didn't want to. 4 years of meal prepping while friends ordered takeout. For years of going to bed early while everyone else stayed out. 4 years of tracking every rep, every set, every calorie. That's not luck. That's not genetics. That's sacrifice. And in that moment, I understood something profound. People will always credit genetics because it protects their ego. If your results come from DNA, they don't have to confront their own lack of discipline. They don't have to examine their own inconsistency. They can stay comfortable in mediocrity and blame their parents for it. But here's the reality. The person you see with an incredible physique, behind that is thousands of hours of work you never witnessed. Thousands of meals you never saw them eat. Thousands of nights you never saw them sleep properly. Genetics might explain 5% of the difference between good and great. Discipline explains the other 95%. And that should inspire you. Because discipline is available to everyone. You don't need to be born with it. You can develop it. You can choose it. Starting right now. Let me give you exactly what to do with everything you've heard. Step 1. Audit your current approach. Write down everything you're currently doing. Training split. Nutrition approach. Sleep habits. Recovery protocols. Be honest. Not what you intend to do. What you actually do. Most people have never done this. They have a vague sense of their habits. Vague doesn't produce results. Specific does. Step 2. Start tracking. For the next 30 days, document everything. Every workout in detail. Every meal with macros. Every night's sleep with duration and quality. This is not obsessive. This is scientific. You cannot optimize what you don't measure. Step 3. Identify your responses. After 30 days of tracking, look for patterns. Which exercises gave you the best pump? Which foods left you energized versus sluggish? How many hours of sleep correlated with your best workouts? Your body is constantly giving you feedback. Learn to listen. Step 4. Build your personal protocol. Using your data, construct your own routine. Not copied from anyone. Built from your own experience. Keep what works. Eliminate what doesn't. Test new variables regularly. Step 5. Commit to identity change. Decide who you're becoming. Not what you want to achieve. Who you want to be. Write it down. Read it daily. Act as if you're already that person. Because eventually you will be. Here's the final truth I want to leave you with. Genetics are real. They matter. But they're not destiny. Every single person watching this has untapped potential inside them. Not because of where your ancestors came from. Because of what you're willing to do right now. The routine I shared today isn't magic. It's methodology. Principles that work because they're based on how the human body actually functions. Not hype. Not fantasy. Reality. The only question is whether you'll apply it, whether you'll do the work that most people refuse to do, whether you'll become the person you know you're capable of becoming. Your genetics don't determine your limits. Your discipline does. Your consistency does. Your willingness to show up day after day, year after year does. That's the real secret. There are no shortcuts. There are no cheat codes. There's only the work. And the work is available to everyone. Starting with you. Starting today. If this resonated with you, I need you to do one thing. Not subscribe. Not like. Though those help. I need you to make a decision. Right now. About who you're going to become. Because the person you are tomorrow starts with the choice you make in this moment. Make it count.